This gentleman back there had a question. Yes, sir.
I just agree with Mr. Claus. Washington doesn't pay any attention to that anyway. He said, you know, we doesn't seem to care. Well, the majority told him not to put that in.
Well, that's why, you know, last Thursday the Supreme Court spoke. Remember what the Supreme Court was looking at. The Supreme Court did not tell us that that was a good law. They don't judge the merits of the law. They didn't tell us that it was good policy. They didn't tell us that it was good medicine. All they told us was that under the law, because it is really a tax, it is constitutional under Congress's constitutional authority to levy taxes. I was shocked at the ruling, disappointed at the ruling. I really thought that it was going to go either a partial repeal or a total repeal. Disappointed that it didn't, but we got what we got. But America is not a government of the Supreme Court, for the Supreme Court, and by the Supreme Court. Our government is of, for, and by the people of this country, and the people of this country will have the final say, not the Supreme Court. And that's why this November is so critical.
Especially in the Senate.
In the Senate.
And the President.
Let's don't forget my race. It's important, folks.
We have to keep the balance out in the House as well. It's interesting to me that the President wanted, the Congress voted on this bill, the Obamacare, and it was in commerce. It was passed as commerce. I don't know that Congress would have passed it if the President said this is a tax. I don't think that he would have passed it.
Oh, well, I don't know what the President would have done. He was determined to get this health care law one way or the other.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what he would have done. I can tell you that now, even after the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land has said, according to the Constitution, it is a tax. You've still got people like Nancy Pelosi who are saying it's not a tax. Well, it doesn't matter what she says now, because the Supreme Court has called it what it is. One of the largest taxes on the American people in our history.
And the Supreme Court says it could only pass as a tax. They could only accept it as a tax. As a commerce, they could not, it was unconstitutional. So if the President goes back and he says, no, it's not a tax, then he's saying the court should not have passed it. So there is such a convolution of what's going on there.
Well, the reason that the President and Nancy Pelosi and others, their allies like Charlie Wilson, are going to say that it's not a tax is because they promised the American people that they weren't going to tax, right? Weren't going to tax the middle class. This is going to tax every single American. Everybody's going to pay for this.
Remember what Pelosi said, we don't need to read the law, we just need to pass it, we can figure out what's in it afterwards.
Yeah.
So remember that. We need to give the Republicans a supermajority like they had the Democrats when they first got in office for law, so we can actually get something done.
Well, we need a leadership change. There's no question about that. We need a leadership change. Yes, ma'am.
Now, this Obamacare, isn't it pretty much the same thing that Canada's already got in place? Because Canada's isn't working out that great.
Yeah, you know, do you know where Canadians go to when they want to get
They come here.
first-rate health care? They come
Because
here.
they're a 5-year waiting list for something that could kill them in a matter of weeks. So what's going to prevent them from that happening here?
Well,
How are we going to stop that?
access is going to be a big issue, because as we drive more and more health care providers out of the system, you've got that unelected panel of bureaucrats called the Independent Payment Advisory Board in Washington, D.C. They're going to determine what kind of health care you get, what kind of treatments you can have, and those kinds of things. So
Glorified population control.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Somebody else raise their hand over here.
Isn't it true that it came out in the papers maybe Friday that we had to know what was in in it before we could try to change Obamacare? Because I don't think anybody read those 1,500 pages.
It's not 1,500, it's closer to 3,000.
Okay, whatever, but I don't think it was read. I don't think they know what was in it.
Well, they didn't have much of a chance to read it.
Right.
You know, it was jammed through, you know, but it was supported. And it's still supported today. The president still supports it, says it's the right thing. Nancy Pelosi still supports it, says it's the right thing. Congressman Charlie Wilson has come out and said that he
But look who's
supports
saying
it.
that. I mean, they're trying to bring America down. I'm sorry. It might be patriotic and all that, but that's what that body of people seem to be trying to do to the whole country. So is it a chance that now that they said, okay, it is a tax, that the Senate and Congress can sit down and go through it and say, okay, we can change this, we can try to change, and try to change some of Obamacare?
Well, we've been trying to do that since we came into office in January of 2011. I have voted nearly 30 times, approximately 30 times, to repeal either all or part of Obamacare. Do you know where those pieces of legislation sit today? Stacked up like cordwood in the Senate. We're going to vote again next week to repeal Obamacare. But I am, you know, it's yes, sir.
What's your feeling about taking the restriction off buying health care across state lines?
I'm glad you asked that. There's several things that I believe needs to be in real health care reform. I think we need to repeal Obamacare and put health care reform back in place that's going to do several things. First of all, put health care in the hands of patients and their doctors, not bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. Health savings accounts. Give Americans the ability to take pre-tax dollars, put it in a health savings account, and out of that health savings account, pay for routine care and even use some of that money to buy a catastrophic insurance policy for things like heart attacks and cancers and those unexpected real crises kinds of things. Tort reform. Let's keep our doctors in the operating rooms and the delivery rooms rather than in the courtrooms. Get rid of the frivolous lawsuits. That'll lower malpractice insurance. That'll give doctors a chance to keep their businesses open. But number three, let's put competition back into the system. Let's make those health insurance companies have to earn your business, make it competitive, make it portable from state to state and job to job. Absolutely. There's a couple of other things that I think we need to do. You know, I think it's a good thing that insurance companies cannot deny coverage based on pre-existing conditions. You know, I think that's a great thing. And we need to consider having that in common sense health care reform. I also think in this kind of economy, where 50% of America's college graduates are either unemployed or underemployed, give those kids a break. Let them stay on their parents' health insurance policy a little longer until they're age 26. It shouldn't be mandated, but they should be allowed to if they need to. Because a lot of our college graduates can't find jobs today in the Obama, Pelosi, Wilson economy.
Well, one thing we have a problem with, that people, if they are sick, they go to the ER because they can't go to the quick care center because they won't take them, they don't have insurance. Most of the quick care units now are owned by hospitals. Why can't we tell them, okay, have a nurse practitioner at the ER saying, if you have this or that, we can send you to the quick care unit and we'll accept you over there, instead of going to the ER where the costs are so much more. And there's people in Texas, they say we're spending $1 million a year.
Well, one of the things that we find is that when you give people more control of their health care, they take more responsibility for their health care. You'll see a decrease in the number of people that go to the high-cost emergency rooms, and they'll begin to work more directly with their private physicians. That's all part of the overall healthcare picture. You're right.
What's the government doing about our gas prices and stuff? They don't work on that anymore?